There's an extra seat over here if you let us sit this way. So
Do you want to sit here?
JB.
No, you weren't, no.
Gentlemen.
Ted needs to be the one.
I can always turn the thing, I'm fine. Mike can see, I
I
can
thought it was easier for y'all to see.
We didn't all see.
That's some great information in there.
Text you, JB.
Okay.
Oh, you mean about 60? I'll be done in 20 minutes. Unless they have questions.
Just we're gonna lose some people, so I wanted to get him in. So we'll do him next. So let's go to,
thank you.
first I have to call the meeting to order. This is the City of Hardyville City Council Workshop, 205 Main Street, Hardyville, South Carolina, 29927, Thursday, September 26, 2024 at 2 p.m. This is a workshop. The rules of order are relaxed. The only requirement is please wait till the previous speaker has yielded the floor before you jump in. Other than that, we're going to turn it over to Mr. Brown. All right.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's great to be here with everybody today to talk about this very important topic. As everyone knows, back during Tropical Storm Debbie, Pine Arbor Road, there was some significant flooding out there, particularly in front of Councilmember Carroll's house. But it basically brought to our attention the great need to do some work out there and to get some things done. So this brief is going to be hopefully fairly quick to get through it, to give you some idea of what we're dealing with. It took us a while to get all the data and all the information that we needed, but I think we're fairly confident. We're very confident, actually, about what needs to be done next. So let's move on. All right, some key points here. Already mentioned Tropical Storm Debbie. About 1.3 miles of Pine Arbor Road was affected. We see about 3 different areas of concern that we're going to really start focusing in on. You can see what we found as far as how much rain actually fell over 4 days. It says 12 inches, but most of that fell the first night, about 9 inches of rain. If you look at NOAA's information there, that range right there gives you about a 24-hour storm, a 100-year storm over 24 hours. And so we're right in that, maybe a little bit less. So somewhere between a 50 and 100-year storm, I think, is what we experienced. System's overwhelmed out there, obviously, overwhelmed. Water flow restricted in different areas. Improvements are definitely necessary. And the Morgan tract as well as the car tract, I think I spelled car right, car tract development are going to need to consider this as they move forward with their developments as well. Please stop me if any questions come up. All right, so again, we mentioned 3 areas of concern. I've got them listed out here for you. I've got 2 points of reference. One is John Carroll's house. From this point on, it'll be it'll be JC Home, and the other one is the Coolers residence, 983 Pine Arbor Road. By the way, I had a really good conversation with Ms. Cooler, but as we were getting all this pulled together, she gave me some really good information. And so I do appreciate that, and we're going to stay in touch with her, that family, as we move forward. I'm also showing the Millstone Landing development here, and that's going to come into play here in just a second. All right, so let's look at Area 1. Area 1, again, JC's home. You see where that's located. You see Millstone Landing. What I've got here now is a choke point. I call out a choke point, which is right here. It's the entrance road moving into the Millstone Landing area. We're going to talk a little bit more about that here in a second. I've got 2 large X's here. These are the highest elevation points around. It creates a trough where water flows between the 2, right straight down to the choke point. I'm going to click to another slide real quick. This gives you a little bit more in-depth information on the flow. So the large blue arrows basically is the general flow of water in the area, stormwater flow. The smaller, the thinner blue arrows indicate channel flow as far as the ditches down the roadway. And you can see other areas. If you look up in here, there are ditches that are bringing water from the north, south, that go through that checkpoint. So if I go back to this one here, again, that choke point is going to be vital, this right here, as we move forward in this brief. Oop, hang on. Move on there. I don't get to go to the next slide. I've got this link. Yeah. Because if I hit it right now, it will actually link to that slide I was just on. I needed to forward to the next slide. You just hit the arrow there for me? Okay, great. Thank you very much. This brings it into more of a more technical, if you will, picture of the same area. Again, you see JC's home just above off the slide there. What I'm showing here is there's the first of 4 30-inch pipes that take water across Pine Arbor Road from west to east. This is the first one. It's picking up a lot of water on the west side of Pine Arbor, and it's moving it to the east, and it's also being joined by all this water up here that's coming down. It comes down into this one ditch line right here. It literally makes a dog leg, 90 degree, and then it starts to meander down through this area into the choke point. What I show here is the choke point. 3 large 36-inch pipes that Millstone Landing put in. If you look at the numbers there, that's about roughly 21 square feet. That's what we're getting for flow that's going through that area. All right, and again, a lot of flow is coming through this area. If you look up at some of the information I've given here from the Department of Environmental Services, says these areas have to be checked for the 2 10-year 24-hour event storms, which we found out looking in the file that they were. I actually talked to Ward Edwards yesterday, and he reconfirmed that the engineer, yes, actually designed this for 100-year storm, which means that the water should flow through this without coming over the top and into the road. We didn't see that during this storm, so I think we're designed properly. The question, though, is, do we have enough flow going through there? Maybe we need to take a look at that to get more flow going through there. So we'll have to take a look at that as we move forward in this. If we could put a box culvert, what I say right here, a box culvert, 7 foot by 5 foot, that would give us 35 square feet roughly of flow through there. And that's about 1.5 times greater the flow rate that we have right now.
Where did you put that corner then? I didn't.
So right here.
Okay.
Right?
So one second,
Yes.
Mr. Brown. So what you're saying is a picture where you show those 3
Culverts.
culverts
Right here.
coming out. So
Yep.
is it because they are not cleaned out? Is
No.
it because they're
No.
clogged, or is
think
it
the
because it's
diameter-
inadequate?
They are clear. They're clear of any kind of obstruction that goes through there. Here's the issue. You're gonna have so much water that's going to flow from the north, from the west. It's all gonna come down through this channel to this choke point, to these 3 pipes. It's a lot of flow, a huge amount of flow. These are doing everything they can. I'm gonna show you a video here in a second. I think, Ms. Guzman, you'll appreciate, because you and I talked about a very similar topic out at Hilton Head Lakes. The thing is it never overflowed this.
No.
It never came across the road. It came close, but that tells me that this is designed for that 100-year, right? That the way it's laid out there right now, it's flowing very well. You look, it's high on this side, it's a little bit lower on the outflow side of it. It's just taking time to get through there, and you have to control that. You don't want to just have free flow out there, because that's going to put a lot of water downstream. That's going to cause problems for people downstream. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so with this one, I wanted to show a quick video. We'll link to, actually, no. Yeah, can you show the 3-pipe video real quick?
The mouse.
You've got the mouse up here, so I don't know why.
I apologize.
The reason why you wouldn't using this,
Say again?
the reason why you wouldn't using
Because I got links. I got the links in there.
Put it in.
Yeah, well, you better.
The 3-pipe flow. There you go. There's Joel from my department. He's out there and he's looking at it. You recognize that?
Yes.
Right, we talked about that? All right,
Yes.
now watch this. And
Is that house on the right hand
no,
side?
this is the 3 pipes we were just talking about. There's a second pipe, right? And there's a third one up there. So what that's showing you is water sucking through those pipes. It's getting through those pipes.
So we had only.
Yes, yes,
Okay.
yes. We're showing the 3 pipes here. Water is flowing. It's flowing at a controlled rate.
Mansplaining.
That water was about 4 feet. It was about 4 feet at that time. So that's the video that shows you that the water is actually running through there. Gonna bring the slide deck back up.
But the water did go above the pipes.
It did, but it did not go over the road itself.
Complete thing,
Over the road.
but it was close.
It didn't go over the
Because
road.
it looks like even beyond those pipes that it was up pretty high.
Oh, yeah, it was,
Yeah, flowing out on either side.
yeah.
And this was just a tropical storm, right? It was
Well,
not
it
an actual
wasn't, it wasn't the
hurricane.
average tropical
Yeah.
storm.
This was,
That's
this was,
hurricane force.
this was
We
a hundred.
didn't get the wind, we
Is this
got the
considered
water.
100-year storm
Yeah.
or 50?
I'll bring this back to you in a second. Can I get it again? Sorry, I'll bring it back to you.
100-year storms that happen in every case.
Was this considered a 100 or 50-year storm?
So again, if you look at the actual, the inches of rain over 24 hours that we got, what we can figure out is about 9 inches of rain. Typically for this area, if you look at NOAA, the average is at about 10.1. But there is a range from 8.87 inches to 11.1 inches. That over 24 hours, the intensity would be considered a 100-year storm.
100.
Yes, but we're at 9, so we're barely in that. So depending if the data is correct or not, it could be 50, it could be 100. But I'm saying it's 100, so
So that was considered, you say, about a 100-year storm.
I think so, yes.
And that was just a tropical storm, not a
It
hurricane.
was 100.
Imagine a Val,
But it was a tropical storm that sat on top of us.
Yeah.
It didn't move. It sat on top of us. If it would have moved, I don't think we would have seen near the amount of rain that we actually got. So I think I've got another picture here. Okay, this picture here takes us back to March of 2008. Millstone Landing's not there yet. Here's the choke point. What the choke point appears to be is just a small channel, right, to allow water to flow. Here's Pine Arbor Road right here. This is Pine Arbor right here, to allow water to flow through that small channel. Now, what I think probably was happened back at that time was, if we got a lot of rain and it overwhelmed that small channel, it would just flow into the bigger area. It wasn't being controlled by 3 pipes. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Everyone?
that's
So,
true, I've seen it.
I just wanted to lay that out there to let you know that that is what it looked like in March of 2008. Any questions?
I just have one.
Sir.
All of this is based on clear flowing. If we do have a hurricane, we have trees and other items coming down. That's gonna affect all of this.
Oh, absolutely. I think all bets are off at that point. I mean, it's a matter of, getting out there after the fact and getting things opened back up so water can flow.
And whose job is that?
That's Public Works.
Public Works.
So,
Public Works, Fire Department gets out there, cuts trees that are across the road, and so I think it's a team effort. It's a joint effort for us to get out there and take care of those things.
so as a preemption to all of this stuff, because we can assume that these are, not assume, assume that these are going to be happening because we see it now in black and white, in Technicolor.
Yeah.
Wouldn't it behoove the developers who are building over there to take those precautions to make sure we don't have to deal with this stuff again?
So developments are in charge of their stormwater. Anything that their development produces, they have to control the rate. It can't be more than what pre-construction was. Their post-construction has to be at or less than their pre-construction. Does that make sense to you? So,
Yeah.
so the stormwater they're putting out is controlled through detention or retention ponds, right? That's how they control that, and then they meter it out into the system so that the post-construction doesn't overwhelm the pre-construction. So they are already doing their part, and that's what SRC and Brandon and her folks are all about as far as when a developer comes in with their plans, they're scrutinized to make sure that that is indeed happening.
So these are based on the theories from when? Like how old is all of this information?
A lot, so this information,
Current
The-
or
the-
from old antiquated?
no. This information is from myself and my team actually out there observing this.
Oh, I trust you.
No, we're out there observing what's going on right now. This right here, this choke point is fairly new. I don't know exactly what year that was built, but it's fairly new.
It was in the last couple of years.
Yeah.
There's no storm just started.
Yeah.
So it's I think it was 2019 when the plans actually got approved, I think for phase 1, I believe, something like that. But as far as getting it actually constructed, I think it's been more recent than that.
And John, going back on what she was saying, the three pipes that you're talking about, is that the city's responsibility to add like another pipe? I think that's what you were kind of alluding to, weren't you?
No.
Or make a bigger one or add another?
So
Whose
that's-
responsibility is that?
That's the developer, that's on Millstone Landing's property. We approved, the city approved them to put that in there.
Okay.
That's part of the SRC process, is to approve that, right? Now, could we go back to the developer and say, hey, look, we might like to talk to you about this, might need to take a look at it, because now we have the data from Debbie that says, hey, maybe we need to look at this. But again, I don't know, since it didn't overflow the road, whether they would be agreeable on that, I don't know. That's something we need to look at, but that's kind of a recommendation I'm making towards the end of the brief here.
Did their, retention pond or any of that overflow with that or this?
So I did not see any of their retention ponds overflow. They got very high, got very
I know one
close.
got hired, but I never saw it ever.
And the thing about it is, the way they've designed that so that if they do overflow, they will overflow into this flow that we're talking about right now.
Yeah.
And that could then create an issue where it's going over the road. Does that make sense?
John,
Yeah.
are these, as future development comes along on Pine Arbor, and yes, the developers are required to, SRC to take care of their own stormwater, but there's always a percentage of it that's going to increase these flows. Like this one here coming across Millstone Landing's property. What will happen if the day comes when those three cannot handle the flow?
Well, that's what I was kind of.
Who?
So that's an interesting question. So let's back that up. Let's say upstream of that choke point, there's another development. All right, let's say Morgan or Carr is actually going to be downstream of that. But Morgan, maybe they're adding something to this. It's up to Morgan to understand what the downstream effect would be by them adding something to it, and then they have to design their development to adjust for that.
Okay.
To be honest with you, until I saw this, the handout stuff, I don't know about you, Harry, if you ever thought, but I never thought about the Morgan tract, even though I should have, how it can affect it.
I thought of it because, again, talking to Ms. Cooler, you know, John and I met with her, and John subsequently met with her again, but, you know, and you've heard it over and over, people saying that the developments, even from Margaritaville, is affecting this area, not only here, but entirely through downtown.
Right.
Now, I would have to rely on John what that effect is, but if that is true to any extent, Morgan's just gonna add to the
Oh, that's
situation.
you're exactly right.
And so the solution, it has to be critical, but also the solution, and we haven't gotten to that, whatever they bring to the table, I'm hoping, or I would expect, that it would correct what's currently happened. Because Pine Arbor has flooded up to those houses with a lot less rain.
That's exactly right.
Even before your time, John.
That's right.
This may have been the worst, but it isn't the first.
So I got it. And I'm gonna run through a couple things here that I think we take a look at, as far as how maybe we can stop some of that water from getting so far up into these yards. So that was area of concern one. We're now leaving JC's home, although I indicated at the bottom there, you're off this slide now. This is area of concern two. I broke it up into two portions. Area of concern two, I think, is our largest area of concern. This one, however, is not so much the major. The second of four pipes is located here. As you can see, the 30-inch pipe right here, taking water from west to east. We see that it's fairly open. It looks like it's running good, but I think we're going to have to do a little bit of work in there as well. And then what happens is we see that water flows through a ditch, and then that flows south. Right? That flows south. That gets to the choke point as well. So all of this water is also flowing that way. But we also see, as I indicate right here, some water seems to be floating back into the wetland area, and that's going towards the north. So it's a very interesting thing that's happening here as we watch this flow. So with that, here's
John,
yes.
let me just ask a question, just to get my bearings. As I recall, the original Millstone Landing, that continues to go behind Pine Arbor Road, how far down is that gonna go? Because that also could affect not just Morgan.
So,
Do you remember?
let me,
I have to see a bigger map.
let me back this up to this right here.
See Millstone Landing where it is?
Yeah.
That's gonna continue, what would that be, north?
Yes, north.
And there's 600 homes planned, continuing north.
So right here, you see the Dominion easement right here,
Right.
right? We're above that now where we're talking right now, an area of concern too. So, but you're right. This Millstone Landing likely, and help me understand this, Brandon, and you guys,
There's a huge wetland that separates
Yeah.
the two parts of Millstone Landing.
Okay.
And that's probably where you're talking about that flow going is right through that wetland that's already there. And it's not going to be disturbed.
I guess my point is Millstone Landing is approved for 600 homes. And right now, what's there, a couple dozen?
They haven't been engineered, just that first section has been engineered. We haven't moved past that wetland to the
Okay,
next area.
but my only point is, as they continue to get built to that 600 home mark, it's gonna continue to bring more impervious surfaces and.
but again, they have to control that. That developer has, you can't release that off their
So each
site.
section, they have to do more?
Every phase of that
Yeah,
section.
they have to control that. All right, let me move on. All right, so we were here, this was, the section that we were just talking about. This is the southern portion of area of concern two. Again, the large, arrows show the general flow, the smaller arrow, skinnier arrows show the channel flow. We also have the Buford Jasper, pump station that sits right here. Outside of that, there's really not much in that area, so I'm gonna advance on from there.
John, just a
Yep.
point, it was overwhelmed and there was several houses
Yeah.
on Buford Jasper that could not use their facility, it was overwhelmed.
Yeah.
They couldn't control it either.
Yep.
And it's actually built up off the ground.
Yeah. So as we get into the northern section of this, now we're in the northern section of area control two. What you see here is I've got red circles that show the areas where the houses were inundated with floodwaters. So all in that area there, and then you see up here, 983 Pine Arbor Road, that's where the coolers live. So what we see going on in this area is a major backup of floodwaters. Actually, if I could, can you play that other video for me? This cooler provided a pretty good video to show coming out of their driveway what it looked like. Right here. There you go. And that goes south. That was looking south right there. That's their yard. And then they drive all the way down showing you the flood. Now, this should all be going into those ditches across Pine Arbor and then down towards the choke point. That's where this should be going. Look at this. Well, I'm going to talk about that here in a second.
Again, that's the worst I've ever seen it. Yeah. But I've seen it before up to these houses too. These houses, this isn't the first time it's been up to the doors.
The house that's right before the pump station, I think, got hit the worst. Right, that one we just saw, because there's the pump station. All right, you can stop it there. Let me get that back from you so I can do the link thing.
Yeah, those homes, even with a lot less rain.
And it's,
Thank you.
right, and
Appreciate
it's been
it.
a couple of, 2 or 3 times.
Yeah.
All right, so as we continue on, again, the red circles show where the houses were at, and they really suffered. So as we move on from here, what we're seeing too is this very large house sitting here, just to the north of where the coolers live. There's some development that's happening back here. Don't know exactly what it is because I haven't been able to get back there, but we think it might be affecting some flow. And here's where I'm going to show you on this next slide. If you look at this slide, you'll see where 983 Flora is located right here, and here's that big house. This natural flow channel right here, I think, is getting affected by something that's going on here. I can't figure it out yet, but that is supposed to pick up water and take it out of the area. All right. This slide also shows you where the wetlands sit in that general area as well. That's the green you can see there, the lighter green. And then down below, you can see where the choke point's at right here.
Brenda, is that our friend that we've had?
Yes,
That's,
I believe so, from what I can tell, and that, it's hard for me to tell from.
We're gonna- So we can keep moving on this. I'm gonna go to the next slide. The next slide is gonna stay in the same general area. Now, here's where we're talking about, you see 983 Par, which is the cooler's house. Right in front of them is another. This is the third pipe that takes water from west to east. Here is a big issue. Here's the inlet to that pipe. I can't even see the end of the pipe. All right, so we're gonna have to do some work on that. We're gonna have to talk to those folks out there as to how they can help us keep their ditch lines clear, right? Because I think what's happening is we might have landscape work going on out there, and a lot of that's getting pushed into the ditch lines, and that eventually is gonna cause it to clog, all right? On the other side of the road, on the east side of the road, right here, this house literally, or actually this house right here, built what I'm calling a land bridge. It's like a diversion, so that he didn't want water coming across the road and into his yard. It should flow freely down this ditch line and then south down this ditch line. But since there was something built here, it's diverting flow to the north. And that's what I'm going to show you on this next slide. Here's a closer up picture of that. Here's the pipe I just discussed with you right here. There's another pipe right there I'll talk about in a second. But this 30-inch pipe should be picking up water, comes across, it's hitting this man-made dam, this diversion, and it's wanting to go north, okay? Instead of it going its natural flow pattern past this house and then south from that house, it's actually diverting it north. I think that is a huge problem that we're having because it's not allowing the water to flow in the way it wants to flow. Water wants to flow downhill. It wants to flow its natural path. What we're having here is the water's coming through, it's going north, and then it's competing against another flow. And I think that is a huge blockage that we're having, and that's where my folks are gonna start taking a look at that, is how we can do some work. Now, on the 9th of September, I went out there and I stood on that second pipe. Dang it, sorry.
It's okay, John, you're doing
Dang it, where's the pointer at?
You need the other.
I stood on this pipe right here, and I looked south. This is what I saw. I turned around and looked north, that's what I saw. You can see a clear difference. Water's not flowing there. There's a reason for that. Something's blocking those pipes up.
Is that land bridge on, public right of way?
It is not. I believe it's further in the area of, now, what I'll say, that's a great,
That'd be the easy answer.
that's a great question, because then you gotta think, if we put a pipe here and there's a ditch there, that should be right of way that the city owns.
That's what you would
Right.
think.
That's what I'm thinking.
That should be, and that we should be able to get out there and remove that. I think we should do that anyway. To say, hey, we need this water to flow the way it's supposed to flow.
This, Brian, is this man-made dam something that is legal?
No, absolutely not.
So if it's not legal, we could take action to
Ideally, I think
remove the beaver that took care of it.
Yeah, I think that's what we need to do. The picture doesn't know justice, but I think it's causing a blockage there for us. As we move on, we're up to the fourth pipe, that takes water from the west to the east. That's this one right here. This is up at the Heritage Place community, right up the road a little ways. This is not so much a problem in itself because this is kind of high land. So water's running off of this towards the north and the south. But water that does flow across Pine Arbor right here, it's in the channel, and then it goes into some underground piping, back into a channel, into this retention pond. This retention pond's built so that when it fills up to capacity, there's a weir that allows water to flow out of that. And that water flows down south. Where does that water go? Choke point, right? So the point I'm trying to make here is there's a lot of flow that's coming south to that choke point, all right? And as these new developments come out, they're gonna have to take a look at that and see, what can be done.
So, with all these developments coming up in the area, and we're noticing because of the impervious surfaces that those developments are creating, why can't we up the ante on them and have things change where it is improved instead of us leaving it the way it is right now? Can we do that?
May I?
Yeah, absolutely.
May I? One of the things is like that situation where the man-made dam was,
Right.
that's not in a development. That's some homeowner that just decided to do that, to block off.
Yeah, no, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about developments in general.
We are, we have,
I
they
mean,
have to.
instead of it going on the, okay, three of those are going to be okay over here, but thinking of the future going forward, they say less is more. I am always more is better kind of person. So can we not have them do something better than what they are doing now? And because that's what they're
We
expected
will have much
to
better
do?
than what has been done. Our ordinances, most of this development out here, like Heritage Place and all that, came in well before our regulations. It was before I was here. So yes, with what's happening now, I mean, I think, I don't know all the engineering words or details, but I know Millstone, by putting those pipes in, we're doing exactly what they should have done. And you need to figure out the choke point from how water's getting down to it, if I'm understanding correctly. That is what all of our SRC stuff, all of that engineering, our engineers we contract with review what the developers' engineers do, and they cannot make things.
They can't cause any adverse impacts to neighboring properties, so they have to take care of everything that their development causes. If they don't, then they're in violation of our ordinance, and we can get them to fix that.
And state and federal
Yes.
regulations, not just us, so.
The cost of land development, we all know, is extremely high. The amount of usable land in some of these developments is extremely low based upon Corps of Engineers and everybody else on there. And Ron, I know what you're saying, that our engineers recheck what's submitted to them as far as the size of the retention ponds to hold the water. Is there any way that we could have those increased, instead of being 100%, take them, say, to 110% of what the engineer has come back with?
What we have done, and we, with the MZDO and looking at the recommendations from Soloco and everything, we have kind of merged it in and made some improvements. What we found out is our ordinance was working very well. What we had was a lot of the problems that are out there hadn't been through that process.
Understandable, but
So, yes, we are increasing things. We are certainly working on less impervious surfaces, other techniques, throughout the board. We've increased a lot of these buffers, the open space, all of that helps. And those are the kind of things that we are working on. So, we can certainly look and see if there's anything else, but from what we can tell, and Debbie was very unique. Even though it was a tropical storm, it was extremely rare for us. But as we see today, we're having more rain, so we can look into other options too.
the open space is built into all these new developments, and then it's also the component of usable open space. I mean, to me, open space is all usable, but it also includes those ponds. If we increase the size of the ponds, do we wind up decreasing the amount of usable open space? It's a trade-off right there. But we can control what's coming up, but what's already there we can't control, but the water all still ends up in the same place. So that's my point. I mean, if we can't control what's already out there, so our only option is to control what's may come in the future, if that makes sense.
And if we do have some redevelopments or some things that we can do on some of these individual properties and some more oversight, so that we find these dams before they get too far along.
Okay.
Those are the kind of things.
All right, so we're gonna move fairly quickly here so we can get through this. I only have a couple more slides left. So this is a digital elevation model. I like this because it shows flow patterns, right? So it shows, so if you look at the lighter green, lighter yellow, lighter blue, that's where water wants to flow. All right, so clearly, all down through here, and right through the choke point, and then here to here is where the water's flowing. So where they have that choke point sitting right now, about where it needs to sit, because it's picking up that flow as it comes down through there. Moving on to the next slide, actually, let's do one. This is 20,000 feet out, looking at the same thing. You can see JC's house, 983 Par, but you can also see the flow, right? The flow coming down through here and out to the New River and to the Savannah River. That's what you want to have happen, all right? So that's why I'm showing you that. You move back.
Look at JC's house.
No, right? All right, so moving on from that point,
Roof I got, huh?
here's a few recommendations that we came up with, short term, say 6 months. This is us, this is Public Works Department getting out there, clearing the excess vegetation, pipes at all the crossings that we have out there. Clear the identified blockages, that's that dam I'm talking about, that we need to get out there and talk to those owners and say, hey, we're gonna be coming on your land, perhaps, taking care of this. And then educating the residents. I think there is an opportunity to educate residents on how to help us keep those ditch lines clear. All right, looking out, say, to 18 months, check and correct the drainage elevations. I think we have some issues because I'm seeing competing flows out there in a ditch line where two flows are coming head to head. That's not helping us. We need them to flow in the right directions. Install additional piping perhaps under the roadway to help move more water. And then looking out past that, construct new channels. I'm gonna talk about that here in a second. Replace some piping and make it into a box culvert, if you will, if that's what our engineers say needs to happen. So any questions on that?
John, if we, cost aside, because we don't know what that would be, but if we outsource this, could we accelerate these timetables?
Perhaps, absolutely. Absolutely, but let me show you the next slide, which talks about maybe outsourcing. Well, we would have to outsource it, but the next slide, where is my? There we go. Oop, didn't want to do that. Next slide. Right here. So Thomas and Hutton was hired to do a comprehensive stormwater plan for us. Let's take a look at that. This is literally one that came right out of that plan, Pine Arbor Road. Again, you can see JC's house. So this is now not north-south, it's more west to east here, the way we're looking at this. Thomas and Hutton had a great idea. Hey, let's build a new channel. And now here, let's replace this pipe right here, which was the first pipe we talked about in this, with a culvert. Increased flow, right? Increased flow. The issue with that is then, you look down at the bottom right, $1.7 million for that project. Now, 2 years ago, how much is it now? More than 2 million probably, likely, to do that same type of work, all right? So it's not that things haven't already been thought through to say, hey, how can we make this work a little bit better? Now it comes down to, what do we want to do? And are we truly committed to put the money towards it to get it done? There's some backup slides I don't need to go to, unless there's any more conversation you want to have, but that's where we're at right now.
So it would seem to be in one of the short-term solutions or easing things is get code enforcement to blow up that dam.
Just burn it. Burn it.
Or either we're gonna get our new,
Yeah.
we're gonna get our new piece of equipment.
I'll take the pictures as you do.
Our new excavator, we'll take care of it.
Yeah, first thing is to find out if the
We have a legal
Right.
foot stand on it, you know.
I wanna push the
Well, we can look and see exactly where it is. There are some houses out in the county. Is that one in the?
No, that's actually in the city. Yeah, there's only 2 along this whole stretch that are actually in the county.
Do some
Who
investigation.
owns that?
I don't know.
You know, in all seriousness,
I
it's
have a new
happening.
say. Mr. So-and-so, tear down that wall.
John, okay, your short-term recommendations here, George. The dam may take a little bit of time because of the legal matters of it. Can the rest of this short-term be instituted as we're gonna start coming into a little drier season too?
No, absolutely. I mean, that would be our plan, would be to start doing some of those things. I would probably get with the greenery if we need to get some more support on that. We've got 2 big pieces of equipment now, 2 excavators, so that's gonna help us move forward a little quicker to get some of this done. So absolutely, we are already talking in Public Works about starting to take on most of this.
See, here's the thing that's not sitting well with me, John, on this whole thing.
They
It's,
won't do it.
a lot of these issues are created by the developers. Why aren't they being held responsible to fix some of these issues?
Well, it all depends on how you look at it. This dam we're talking about, that wasn't a developer. That was a private owner that wanted to divert water from coming into his yard.
Oh, not that guy,
Right.
I'm saying in
Right.
general, I
Okay.
mean,
Yeah, so again, I don't think we're at that point where we can say that Millstone Landing with that choke point literally made it worse. I think it may have made it better. Because remember, we had that one little channel before. Now we've got 3 large pipes that are pushing water through there. But it has to be controlled. That's per regulation. That we can't get around that, right? It has to be controlled. So I think that until we do a little bit more work and investigation on the whole Millstone Landing piece of it, we can't really say that they're doing something that's causing this problem.
And Val,
I don't think they
this
are.
is for all of us on council. Your question really is a question we need to ask when new developments come.
When they come.
yeah.
It's not really, John's dealing with what we have.
Right,
now.
right.
The questions you're asking are really for when we get these developments in front of us.
I mean, the short term, those are things expense-wise that I think that can be handled, and they, instead of debating and looking at the long term and everything else, we probably should just try to get moving ahead with that. I mean,
I agree,
you know.
Steve. Let's get the short term, and if there's an analysis of whether it's more cost effective to do in-house, because
In-house
that's a lot of work, and you already don't have a lot of
We're
extra
stretched.
time.
We're stretched. But like Mr. Mearsman just said, our grass cutting season's coming quickly to an end.
Yeah.
That's now allows us to get more ditch work done in there.
when you're knee deep in alligators, you forget you're supposed to be draining the swamp.
It may,
You
even
gotta
if
do what
it
you gotta
costs
do.
us a little bit more,
Sure.
be better to pay the extra money and outsource it.
Yeah, because if it could be done quicker, that would be the best way to do it. Because we've identified a problem. And you said today wasn't as bad, but it wasn't perfect either.
Well, we got tonight to go through with this
I think
rain,
it's like-
so we'll
But
see.
also, Harry,
We'll see how things go.
a lot of this stuff, you had a good point about trying to, when these developers come in, but some of this stuff is, you don't have any idea. Who would have had an idea that when
Exactly.
Millstone Landing came in, what effect it would have had? Just like I had, not in my mind about the Morgan tract, what effect it's gonna have until I saw John's
And see,
slide.
one of those last slides where it had. What is that, the car track? Or the motor track?
As we continue to
We have
remove
deal with that
trees,
when that comes
we're
up.
going to see some of that.
Not, Jen, I'm gonna
Take a
hold,
minute. Yep.
because of, what we're trying to accomplish today, I'm gonna put you last, if you don't mind. And I wanna put Ted forward now.
We're good.
You guys ready? Yeah. Okay, sorry.
That's okay.
Because in case, we can always come back to Jen at any time, so if we run out of time. So let's do Ted. You have to reload the slides.
Yeah.
I'm supposed
Do you wanna?
Did you send
Okay.
that plan
I did.
that we can take out?
I did.
Go ahead, Ted.
Email it.
I did.
Okay, well, we got one page, I didn't realize an electronic submittal.
Is he making fun of me?
No, he's not.
Scott,
There's someone we could just email an electronic plan to.
I think we have it up there.
She did pretty quick. She did. She didn't even pause.
And Jody, he just turned his back to you.
He can send that.
You wouldn't have, you wouldn't have, you were gonna have to.
So, Chief, yeah.
It should be, but
Yeah.
Put it up there. You guys get going, you got like 15 minutes. 'cause we got-
Yeah, we can go ahead, Ted. I was prepared.
15 minutes.
You go ahead and present
Okay, we're going to, we're gonna turn the floor over to Mr. Ted Moyd of JCNU.
Thank you all. Good afternoon, and thanks for having us here. I'm here with my engineer, Nathan Suri, We are here to share our project at 37 Main Street with you all, which is a mixed-use project, which will contain 14 office buildings, 14 offices on the bottom level with conference rooms. And on the top, we'll have 4 townhouses for sale, 2 bedrooms, 2 bath, and 1 bedroom, 1 bath. And we're also working with Habitat for Humanity on the back part, if we can ever get the front part taken care of, to build some additional units on the back part. So I'm gonna turn it over to Nathan and let him do his thing or whatever we need to do.
Sure, so, JCNU, Jasper County Neighbors United, they purchased 103 Solace Court, and we're gonna be approaching you guys to, combine that property into 37 Main Street. Right now, 37 Main Street is zoned downtown mixed use in the T5 district, and, the back piece is zoned single-family residential 2, yeah, there we go, zoned, T3 district. So to accommodate a shared parking, shared utilities and everything for the site, as JCNU wants to maintain ownership after development, we were going to combine that into one piece to simplify any easements that are needed and obviously rezone that back piece as, I think we would need to rezone it to subdivide it as well. So we just wanted to come to you guys, present our plan, and answer any questions you guys may have about the proposed development or kind of the rezoning effort we're trying to attempt here.
Parking. How many parking spaces will be allotted for these properties?
So it's 19 spaces. We are using the shared parking that was presented in the MZDO with commercial residential. So we were allowed to apply a 1.4 factor to reduce that parking by sharing it. We essentially have, I need to look at these numbers right here. Towards the front piece right here, this is gonna be the mixed use right on the main street, mixed use commercial residential building. That will require 16 spaces in the back. I'm sorry, the commercial is 11. I wasn't prepared to speak for everybody, so excuse me. We had a total requirement of 27 for all of it.
Nathan, excuse me, I want to try to help out a little bit.
Okay.
We haven't fully vetted this to give the application to see what the zoning districts allow, because what we will be asking from you is a straight zoning district. So we have to see exactly what the ordinance says and play out how, but the staff has not fully reviewed all of this at this point. So I just want to let you know that before you get into all the details of the parking.
Okay, yes, thank you.
Because my question, I really believe, is valid. I mean, you have 13, 14 offices here.
Parking.
The parking is going to be a problem. I mean, unless only one person in those offices, and then you have the residential, parking is going to be an issue, no matter what, and you're gonna have to address it. You're absolutely going to have to address it. Your office spaces that you're looking into, what are we talking? Insurance people, what are we talking?
No, these are nonprofits and federal and state agencies geared toward low-income residents. So it can be a one-stop shop where they can come to one place and access all the agencies to help with low-income housing needs.
Well, that's great, Ted, but those people aren't gonna walk there. And this is why parking has to be. We're debating with all the parking in that whole area down there around the hub. And unless we can address this with it, we're just gonna shove parking from one place to the other. We see it now, parking at the library when something's going on over at the Mission over there. I mean, we have to address it. You know, if you have to go back to the drawing board and look to find it, please do.
Now, Brown,
Yes, sir.
the back of that library was a vacant lot, is that the vacant lot?
That's what he's
I'm
talking
thinking,
about.
so y'all acquired that piece of property?
Yes, we did.
Okay.
So we could use that for parking if it all comes to that.
And he mentioned the shared parking, there are some standards in the ordinance, but it does have to be the same zoning district, we would want it combined all together, and some things like that, so there's some, with the new transect zoning, I don't know all the details of it, Katie and I are still learning from it, so we want to make sure we're giving you full information before we say, yes, that's how many spots. But we understand, that was our first comment, I think Ted and Nathan can say. Parking worries us, setbacks worry us, and we want to make sure we were doing the right thing.
And we are fully compliant with the new code. The transect zones really seem to encourage shared parking in the downtown area. So this plan is compliant with your code.
How many floors did you say it was gonna be?
Two.
Two. And the top floor are rentals
No, there's gonna be home ownership.
okay, so they're like condominiums?
Yes.
It's 4.
The townhouses.
The back piece is really tentative right now, what could go there. We're just securing a residential use based on 4 dwelling units. So it could be a mix. If we get rezoned into the T5 district, I believe it is, we can't do duplexes there, so we'll have to do a multifamily product and come up with 4 multifamily units on that back piece.
We're still working out all these details, that's
Yeah.
not exactly how it plays out, so yeah.
Okay.
Yes, we made application this week to the zoning, so.
We don't have a complete
Complete application.
application quite yet,
We're
but
close.
once we get that, we'll start the review process, so we
Okay.
haven't
We
started
haven't
the
done
review
any of
yet.
that yet.
Okay, all right.
We've had a lot of conversation recently, even with our own building across the street, about keeping the architecture in the front and keeping with the whole spirit of downtown.
Right.
And not create, keeping the same historic look that we have
Well,
throughout the town to a degree. Have you gotten to any?
yes, we got into it, and this is what they, let me see if this is the Main Street view right here. That's the Main Street view.
Yeah, that's what we have. Low country style then, low
Yes.
country architecture.
And that's the Main Street view. And so we just waiting to hear from staff and see what we need to do and comply if we can.
With both lots, how many, what's the total acreage?
It's right under an acre,
It's 0.5 for both lots.
right?
For both lots?
Sir, half acre.
Half acre.
A half acre, and we're gonna have, how many condominiums up top?
It'll be 8 total.
Right.
Eight? up
4 in the
top.
front building, 4 on the back piece.
That's a lot of homes on a half an acre.
Density for.
Two quick points. So have you checked, is there any deed restrictions or covenants on those properties, Ted?
Yes.
Okay, just verify that if there's anything that you
The attorney sent me those last night, so I have all that information also.
And then I think the mayor, we're doing, or we're anticipating doing a public-private partnership, kind of a redevelopment of the whole downtown area. You guys obviously could be a integral part of that, especially on the shared parking, cooperating with the city on parking requirements. So, more to come when we see your application, but.
Okay. Attainable housing. These gonna be at an attainable rate for folks to rent?
Say it again?
Attainable,
Gonna be
affordable.
market rate or are they
Market
gonna
rate, what,
be-
where are you, the marketing that you're looking to rent these, the apartments for?
They're
For sale.
Are they gonna be?
For sale or for rent?
at market rate?
They're not gonna be market rate because we have different grants that we went after.
That's what I was asking.
And we have, Jasper County gave us $150,000 ARP money to put into this project to make sure that it's truly affordable. And also, we received $130,000 from the Beaufort Jasper Housing Trust Fund for $9,000 each for closing. So we plan to take that off also. So they got $150 that we're gonna divide by 4, take that off of the price, and then we're gonna take $9,000 off with the money that Beaufort Jasper Housing. So
Okay,
these are truly gonna be affordable.
So they're gonna be all for sale then, correct?
They all be for sale.
Even the ones above the lower unit,
The ones up above.
Those are gonna be too, okay.
But the bottom will be rental.
The
It's
bottom
gonna
will be
be
rental.
leased. It's gonna be leased. Yes. But the top is gonna be home ownership.
Okay, because it's very important that we have affordable or attainable housing in our downtown area. If you're
Oh, yeah.
gonna bring it to.
And these will be, I don't wanna give you a price point right now because we have to see what it costs to build first, but, we plan to make it real reasonable and not the market rate.
Thank
It
you.
will definitely be attainable.
So Ted, in order to, as you, I don't have to tell you, you know, in order to keep it in inventory of attainable housing, there have to be some sort of deed restrictions on the sales. In other words, just like Habitat.
Right.
You can't flip it,
No.
so you're
No.
gonna have restrictions in there so
Exactly.
that it stays attainable for X number of years?
Yes, we will.
As Mike always says, the devil's in the details. Get us the details and we'll take it from there, right?
Okay. Well, thank you. And on the second note, you know, last year we came to you guys, because we had the senior spring fling. Well, this year we're celebrating our 25th anniversary of being in business. We've been in business since 1999. And so we're having our 25th gala anniversary on the 19th at Hampton Hall in Bluffton. Our guest speaker will be the Honorable General Fig Newton, a graduate of Jasper County High School, and he was the first Black to fly with the Thunderbirds. It starts at 6 to 11, and it's a black tie affair. And so we are asking, you donated last year, and so we are asking for a donation again this year to help us put on the celebration. We will be honoring you all this year at the gala. The City Council and the County Council of Jasper, because without the two of these entities, we wouldn't have been in business 25 years. So you will be honored at this award banquet. And so I'll just wait to hear back from you on a donation and look forward to seeing you all there. What I would need is updated copies, Mr. City Manager, if I could get updated pictures of you and the council members, because we're gonna have a souvenir booklet, and like we did years ago, I don't know if you were here, but we would like to showcase them also in the souvenir booklet.
You did that, Ted.
Thank you for your time. If you have no other questions.
Ted, be sure to apply to the nonprofit for the sponsorship.
Yeah.
You know that.
Yes.
Make sure you get that in because
Okay,
your
so I
timing,
need
your
apply
timing
to
is
the
short.
city nonprofit. Okay, that's what I'll do then. Any other questions? Thank you for your time, and I look forward to hearing from you all.
Okay.
Thank you.
The day after the other.
Good job. Oh, good seeing you.
Leo, you have this?
Sounds like exciting.
Thanks. I appreciate it.
Bye, Ted.
Thank you, Nathan.
Are we ready? Okay. Well, I don't want to say we saved the best for last, but,
Yes.
you know, yeah, this is, yeah, use this slide. Why?
Scroll down.
All right. Yeah, we'll make it through. Okay. So just want to go over a little bit, what I plan to do for you all, and not take up too much time because this is important and we really want to leave the majority of the time for you all to discuss. But I do want to go over a little bit of the facts and a timeline review. So, all of you know, Hardyville Parks and Rec, we absolutely love anything fun, innovative, exciting. So we have been researching this for, I feel like since I've been here, couple of years. So in your packets that we sent out, I think Monday, during all the craziness of what was going on with email and all that kind of stuff, you got a whole bunch of information. We didn't want to put that out here so everyone can see all that. Not that we're not being transparent. However, we don't want to confuse the public thinking that we have plans already done. This was to be able to help give you all a little bit more direction. So 2022 and 23, we received a quote and design from Vortex, which is the #1 leader in splash pads. They actually designed them and more or less started them way back in the day. So I've worked with them before. They're amazing. And they were very quick to turn all this information around, get us some quotes. We basically told them, hey, this is a snapshot. See if you can design something and get that information back to us so we can look at putting all this information into our CIP. Obviously, the budget wasn't there at the time, and then it came back up again. So we did prepare the analysis for council, which you all have in front of you. And I think we had that a couple of workshops ago as well. And then in this past, I don't know, maybe a couple months ago, Mr. C and I got to talking and we needed to go ahead and form an exploratory committee. And all of those members are here. So Katie and John and Jody are all in here. So they'll be able to answer any questions towards the end as well if you have any specific questions. And then basically what we did is we took all that and wrapped it up and we put a memo out to Mr. C and told him, hey, our recommendation is to bring this back to you all so we can have some good discussion because it is always exciting to have something like this come to the playground.
Literally.
Yes. And I mean, it is, like I said, it is exciting. And even when we were in our meeting and talking, the ideas were really flowing on different locations and stuff. So, but what we did in front of you too, I put a copy of your memorandum and we looked at a multitude of different things. We looked at city-owned property with infrastructure, without infrastructure, limited infrastructure, future projects that we were looking at to include East Argent, the hub. All the stuff that's in the queue right now, which, as you all know, is quite a bit. So we tried to take into consideration as well as cost to see what would be the best fit. So this is the first location that we all looked at. This is a city-owned property with existing infrastructure. It has all of your water, your electrical. It definitely has a retention pond on site. And we have some limited parking as well. So there's our beautiful train. And we'll get into the very bottom. You'll see how that train comes back into play. This was another one right here. This is the city-owned property with the existing infrastructure. JB came up with this idea, and that is an old, John Carroll, you'll appreciate that picture. That is a very old picture from probably, 2005, 6 maybe. So that's our existing white building that is outside. And there was a trailer there, maybe Boy Scouts or somebody used to be over there at one point.
Band room years ago.
Yeah, all kinds of different things that, have been there. In our master plan for the RG complex, or Richard Gray complex, that was eventually going to be part of the butterfly garden and at some point maybe a memorial garden adjacent to the existing Juju property that we have that's facing Main Street. So anyway, again, we weren't thinking about this, at all. But again, we went back and looked at what our existing property was and went down and said, hey, this has got all the stuff. It's got parking, it's got water, it's got electrical, it has all the infrastructure there. So this is another option that we looked at. Sorry, I'm super slow. This is another one. This is the Recplex, and this is where I think, a lot of people obviously think this would be the best place for it to go. This is where all of our playground stuff is, which we're getting ready to finish up. I know Jody's working on all that right now as we speak to finish up the Juju Playground Park and getting all that done. The one thing that we have a problem with down here is, JB was just talking about is, all that infrastructure issues, BJSW. We do have retention ponds that are out here, again, but there's different areas that are already spoken for. The parking lot, Juju is already done. We are literally going to be putting that out, getting it done hopefully within the next few weeks and get that contract signed. And then we're adding the parking. And I would honestly say that anyone that has been here for the last couple of years understands and knows it's been out to the complex to see. Parking is a huge issue. They'll park any which way. So we are addressing those needs. And, we do have the parking lot improvements, which also includes part of the Randall Street on the other side. So, we're taking care of all that stuff. So in the perfect world, it would be great to add it. We just don't know where we'd be able to put it without taking something that we already have in the queue that's already master planned and literally out for bid. So this is inside of the complex, just kind of on the outside. We don't think about it. This is, again, city-owned property without any existing infrastructure. This is the old dog park. This is actually where the playground used to be many, 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 many moons ago. And people still use it. It's a beautiful area. We will have parking. It's going to be across the street. It'll be right at the Randall lot that the city purchased a while ago. And we do have a detention and retention pond that is out there. But again, we don't have access to everything else without additional costs to connect into BJSWA and electrical and so on. And then we kind of come down here, same thing. This is the old Juju Hudson Old Homestead, which is literally, let's see. Yeah. I'm gonna do that one. This one's not going to work either. But anyway, it's literally right up at the corner, and I don't know which clicker it is. I'm not used to using that one, sorry. But it is this little lot that's right here. So it's a pretty small lot. Again, we will have some additional parking, but we also were concerned with what's going on behind City Hall in the future. There are plans to put an annex, which of course is where we have our festival, all that kind of stuff. So a lot of that will have to be moved. We'll have to find another area to be able to do that once that annex goes in. And I'm assuming probably the majority of that is going to turn into some parking at some point, because all of you that are here right now, whether you're staff or not, there's nowhere to park. So that is another area that we looked at. And then again, moving down, we looked at a lot of the future projects. City-owned property, of course, we looked at East Argent. East Argent is a wonderful area, but our directive was to try and find something now that we could use. East Argent could be another year and a half, maybe 2 before the road, is finally finished, something like that. Mitchell Square, the city just acquired that property, but again, future plans, are in the works for that. And then we also have our 10+ acre, which is right along I-95. And that's over where the old dog park was. A lot of people don't even think about it, but it is there. There's just no way to get back there at this point without adding a hefty bill for some roads and stuff to get back there. Yeah. So, and this is just kind of a little quick synopsis, because again, most people would say this is probably the best place to put it. But again, I guess this is a hard pass for me, but again, it's up to council. One of the things that Parks and Recreation wants to do, and the city, we're growing in leaps and bounds, and we want to be able to expand. I always joke with council, we have one playground, 57 square miles, one playground, which means everybody is using this park, and we're not expanding our parks to other areas so that people, can get access to it. So, but this is what we own. This is the land that we own. So again, you'll see, this is the Richard Gray Master Plan that council approved many years ago. This area right here is all the open land that we bought ahead of time for the festival. If we had to move it, we would end up moving it back over here. But this whole area is ours, it's undeveloped. And then I think we sold a little bit of that tract up there to a developer, I think, that they're currently building right now. So lots of options for sure, but wanted you to see the entire snapshot of that. And then after a lot of going back and forth, this is what we recommended. We recommended TB Carroll Park. TB Carroll Park is literally centrally located inside the city. It definitely needs an upgrade. We looked at the train, trying to figure out all the different kind of things and elements that we could tie into it. We've got, of course, there's going to be the hub that's going to be going in there as well. There will be Veterans Park, not on this side, but on the opposite side. So you've got a lot of different things to bring people to this area. So, and then the general cost, again, council, please be reminded that this is just a snapshot. We are not giving you a budget and saying this is exactly what it's going to be. Jody will tell you, we're not going to get into the weeds because the weeds are very expensive. But there are considerations that we definitely need to think about. So obviously we looked at land. If we don't need the land, we can take that money out. The design, build, engineering, right now, it could be anywhere between 12,000 to 15. What I always do is I put that higher number on the back end of it just to help with the contingencies. We did have a meeting yesterday with Vortex. Vortex doesn't charge for their design fees, so it does help with the city as well. Permitting can be anywhere between 15 to 18, depending. Again, there's contingency that's built in. The construction, we won't really know until we figure out where it's going to go. So that's the direction that we're asking from council a little bit later as we get towards the end and the discussion happens. So if we have a bigger plot of land, we are able to build a bigger splash pad, or a smaller plot, then your budget's going to be a little bit bigger. We were able to tour Oscar Fraser yesterday. Really, really nice, a project they've got over there. And it's really neat. I think they took some artwork from the community and kind of put it down into the design of it. So it's really fun. I think he said they wanted that open within the next week or two.
Yes,
Yeah.
16.
So I don't know. We're praying for him. But, like I said, it's a really great project. And I'm sure they'll build, a lot more with parks. But right now, that's the problem with PRT is we only have one park, and we're not thinking about expanding and growing. So, but again, looking at shade structures, picnic tables, all those things that you need, your FFE could be up to 15 or more or less. And staffing, I really want to make sure that I touch on this so that everyone understands. A lot of the times we have these big dreams and grandiose ideas of things that we want to do, but we don't think about the reoccurring costs, whether it's preventive maintenance or the fact that people have to go in and out. And one thing with splash pads, again, we're not going to get into the weeds, but I want to make sure council understands we don't need a full-time employee to be down there to run operations, depending on the type of pump system that we have. If we have one or the other, we will have to have somebody. It doesn't mean we have to have a full-time employee. It means that we could sub it out. It's basically a CPO, which is a certified pool operator. And, that can be anywhere between $25,000 to, $50,000 a year. They will have to come on site. They have to come on site every single day. They have to check everything, just like you would a pool. They'll check the levels, make sure everything's good, copacetic, and all that kind of stuff. So please be thinking of that in the back of your mind, as a reoccurring cost. And this is also really cool, too, because, when you think about the rec center, we had a budget, and we weren't really sure how much the operating costs and those things were going to be. But, after that first year, we were able to kind of tie into it. And one of the things that I know Jody and I were definitely discussing was, BJSWA and connecting to certain places and the water use and all that. So that's definitely going to play in the type of system that we have with a splash pad. But again, a lot of weeds, and that will bore all of you to death today. So we don't need to worry about that just yet, but think about it. And then again, usage fees, these are just approximate numbers. They could be higher. I think they're getting ready to go up, double, who knows, in the next couple of years. So the total and build with all that was right around 1.6. And then annual maintenance is right around 88,000. That takes into consideration your CPO and any equipment that you have to do with supplies as well. So this is the same thing, just broken down what I just went piece by piece. If you have to take out the land, all of that, you're looking at your construction cost to be about $1,093 and some change. Bluffton's, I think, is a little over 800. $100,000 right now. So again, and their annual maintenance costs are right around the same with ours. Plus, they have built-in staff that are doing all this. And I believe Bluffton is also getting were they going to do a CPO, or were they hiring a firm to come in and do it for the first year, maybe?
Into his contract with the manufacturer of the equipment, that they provide a 1-year service agreement for $36,000, but that's every single day on site. 365 days of coming out, water testing, cleaning the pad, making sure the equipment's not failing, doing tests. Yeah, it's not a cheap amount, but.
Yeah, but it's definitely doable. You know, so, and again, with the budget, you know, everyone knows we've got a lot coming down the CIP. So a lot of our funds are tied up into projects. We have Juju Hudson that's getting ready to be done. We've got development fees that are tied into that, ARPA funding that's tied into that. You know, even the parking lot project, same thing. But with DA fees, we're constantly getting those fees in. And then we also are able to utilize some of the local hospitality for this as well. So we have options. We definitely have options for funding. And again, I mean, if you guys just want to write a check today, tomorrow.
I know Bluffton, and you're probably aware, Bill Harb Kurtzman's gotten a lot of park money for Bluffton. That is, you know, we have a good relationship with Bill. Neil, is this, you know, we've gotten park money before, right? That's
Hard.
that could be an avenue that we could help
We have
offset.
this, where you see some of the grant monies, I don't know if he's doing any line items or not, but as you know, this is the time that we probably start even having that conversations with them, so.
Yeah, because they'll be returning in January and talking about, you know, these budget items. I think Bill would be very receptive to try to work something for us. There's no guarantee that would happen, but certainly another avenue to explore.
Yeah, that's part of the grants with PARD, for sure. So, and I think that might be in here as well. So anyway, I mean, that's pretty much you know, what the next steps are is just really, you know, you guys can either approve the site recommended by staff, or you can redirect. We want to have this conversation. And then of course we'll need to find the funding source. So I don't, you know, Jody doesn't, you know, go crazy. Making sure we have everything, you know, set, and all that kind of stuff. And then, of course, once it's approved, we can certainly begin to do the design build process. We'll bring all that stuff back to you. And then I think this is the last. Yeah, so I'm gonna be quiet, get my time correct. So I just want, you know, you all to talk, I mean, this is your decision and what you want for the community. Parks and Recreation is definitely gonna lead the way with whatever way you'd like to direct us in moving on this path.
This may come as a surprise, but I see no better way to honor Mr. Carroll than by putting a lot of kids in his park.
Yeah.
And next week, is that enough time to get this done?
Well, let me hold on a minute. Let me digest.
I agree with what you're saying, Mayor, but do we have the space there? We're gonna have our Veterans Park there. We just talked to Ted about parking. I mean, we have to expand the retention pond that's there. I mean, will it be tight or is it workable?
It's workable.
It is workable and that's fine.
And mind you, what they're doing in Bluffton is roughly 2,800 or close to 3,000 square feet. We're proposing a 2,000 square foot pad, but it could fit between the existing Old City Hall and the library. And we've even discussed about the potential butterfly garden and how that's not really being used, but we could expand into that space. And then, of course, everything would be fenced off, but it's a beautiful location for people driving down Main Street to see an active, vibrant city, something that's.
Obviously it is. We had discussed a spray pad also. You went in favor of a splash pad instead of a spray pad?
Yes, sir. So we looked at both. So the spray pad can, again, you know, not to put my plug in, you know, the 57 square miles, one park. That is something that we can certainly add. Anyone that goes down to Savannah sees them all over the place. Franklin Square, Ellis Square, you walk right out. They're there. Forsyth Park has got a really big one. So those are definitely things that we can look at adding. One of the things that we couldn't do in the back, when we went through just the Juju Hudson cycle with DHEC and all of that, and BJSWA, getting those approvals, it was pretty clear, and Jody can correct me if I'm wrong, we were gonna have a very difficult time trying to be able to connect this back there with all of the issues with water and flow and all that, as well as the spacing, trying to figure out. We looked at also putting it right beside it where the parking lot was, but then softball, if you've got a game coming on, a softball can fly over, hit one of the kids. And we didn't want to take away the parking, because that is one of our number one issues down the park is we've got a lot of beautiful amenities, but like yesterday, we drove by, I had to turn lights on last night and nowhere to park. So, but yes, we did look at it, and it is something that we can always add to future parks down the road. And hopefully, that is something as the city gets larger and larger, and, hopefully maybe at budget time, we'll be able to, look at a complete plan that takes all growth, development consideration, and where we want to put these things at. If there's a trail or a memorial park or something like that, and we can also have a playground, splash or spray pad or anything like that as well. So, yes, sir, we did look at it.
Because some of our communities, as we come on mine alone, or we don't need a playground in it. Sun City, we don't need a playground in it. And we're requiring recreational in every new development that's coming in. So we are gonna take some of the load off of that. I think it's a great idea. I hope we can get it into that space that we're looking at down there. But the reason I questioned a spray pad is the annual maintenance and everything else on that. Is there a big difference in between those two? No?
It would be
Okay.
the same.
It would be the same. Your most expensive portion of this is not, like I said, people are like, oh, we can build a splash pad for $500,000. That is accurate. However, all of the long-term maintenance that you have to do, depending on what system that you want, I would much rather you put that $100,000, $150,000 ahead up front and eat that cost versus eating that cost with the water. Because again, water is the unknown. And right now, you either have too much water on the ground or we're not getting the right water. It's going to continue to happen, but that is your major cost.
Maybe we could get some Pine Arbor Road. to-
Well, look, y'all, this is, yeah, I don't think, this has happened. This has actually happened. So they do this. I wouldn't recommend it at this site, but there are splash pads that have this. They recycle water from the retention and they continue to recycle it. So it goes back into the environment. A little bit more expensive, but this site that we recommended as staff it's not big enough to do that.
We need this downtown. We need something for the families and the people downtown.
Yeah, and
There's no doubt that this is gonna go in. The only other question I wish, and John is going, we could have had a lazy river in John Carroll's front yard. It doesn't get any cheaper than that.
No, sir, they ain't throwing in a gator or two.
You get to run the concession stand. I
so,
think it's a great idea. And it's long overdue.
okay. Matt, do you have anything?
Is there any, before we go off, you've heard from me, you've heard from Steve, John, Val, are you in on this site?
Yes.
Okay. So I think,
Sounds like Mayor's about to, I'm not gonna say the only site, but the most really feasible.
Yeah.
Without losing something else.
think about this, and I've heard from Jen and other people many times. We put in those billboards on I-95 and we told all the time that people stop off I-95 and go to the dog park. Imagine how many people would come and cool off with their kids and spend some time.
And money.
And with the whole downtown renovation, we could get, the more people you have drawn downtown,
People draw
the
people.
more chance we have with this renovation project to attract other commercial businesses to service these people who are coming over.
Ice cream store with all those kids
Right,
down
all kinds of, and we're gonna have the memorial park right near there.
Yeah, on the
other
opposite side, yeah, it's keeping it,
So
and
I think
it's.
this is
perfect.
ideal. I love this site.
As we move forward, can you show us a footprint of where it would be in relationship to everything else in there?
Oh, yeah.
I've shown you,
Absolutely.
I've given you guys, I think a couple times, I have to do it again, show you the master plan for the hub. And if you recall, that's done, like, kind of done in phases, right? And, we did the Memorial Park first, or Heroes Park, whatever we're gonna ultimately call it. And then, and that's actually separate from, TV Carroll Park, because it's across Dasher Lane on the other side of the library from TV Carroll Park. But what better way to honor the legacy of someone who a park is named after than actually activate that space so people come there? I was not involved in the committee, so I had no input, but I think it's a great idea. And as far as the parking, certainly we're creating parking along Dasher Lane. There'll be some to the rear of the new park. Also, ultimately in the plan is to kind of redo Martin Street, so there's much more parking on Martin Street, as well as some additional parking areas, space lots as well. So I think it makes a lot of sense, and but I'll send you out like that one that particular section, and obviously that will be the next step. Is we did an RFP and we got the park designed, the Memorial Park designed. The next step would be to get that master planned as well, and the key component will be a splash pad. So I think that's the next
I would
step.
suggest, I think it would be a good idea, especially with the Memorial Park, and we could public notice it. Let's schedule a quote workshop and let's do a walk.
Absolutely.
Let's go down there, we'll all walk down there, show us where it is. I think that would be beneficial. So you look at maps and you think, oh yeah, where was it? And talk about what we're gonna do with Dasher Lane and everything. I think that would be productive.
I would actually suggest we do that as part of after we do an RFP for the design, and you get that consultant to do that.
Whenever you
and
think it's
conduct that.
appropriate.
Yeah.
You know,
So they could lead that discussion, just like we had for the Memorial Park. We had public input as well. I think that makes a lot of sense.
I don't, again, staff comes to us with funding ideas. The quicker the better, as far as I'm concerned.
Do we have a plan to keep the policemen and the firemen from playing in the water?
In particular, this will be right next to
Chief, don't shake your
Camp's
head.
office. We were gonna put him out there supervising,
He'll
so.
be out there.
His one piece.
In the speedo.
No, he'd have one of those striped ones. He'd have one of those.
Feeling that.
Right, yeah. School 1940s leotard.
Thank you very much. I know we've been pushing at this for quite a while. But
Years.
the community needs this. The community absolutely needs this now.
Well, we love the fact that we have the train as something that we can play off of, and we can create something that, it's playful, it's attractive, it blends well with what we're doing at the Memorial Park, because we wanna tie in some of that railroad design, that look. And I think that train is kind of forgotten down there, so this will bring so much attention to
The
it.
downtown, every fire starts with a spark. And we have an opportunity to start that spark.
Oh, Steve, that's.
This is definitely a spark for PRT, so we will,
Baby later, John. That's right.
we will,
That's an old
we will follow up.
It is.
Wow. That's some of my paper too, I gave you this.
Thanks, I get your garbage too.
All right, children.
I'm bringing my inflatable over into your yard next time it rains.
Well, this was,
Interesting.
talk about 3 minutes before your takeoff time.
Right.
And, so, are there any other questions from council before we adjourn?
No, I don't have any.
Any other questions from council before we adjourn? Okay, just, I sent you the notes. We've reserved, and we'll have to start publicizing, 4 informational town halls. We have Monday at Margaritaville, and Neil is creating a little PowerPoint so we can put out what the referendum is. Cindy has reserved Monday the 7th, was it, Cindy?
7th at the Rec Center.
7th at the Rec Center it'll be from 5 to 7. And we've rented Fun City from, it'll be from 3:30 to 5:30 before National Night Out.
That is on the, the what?
On the 8th.
On the eighth,
So that we're covering all parts of
seventh
the
and eighth
town.
both, okay.
There'll be, what my plan is at this point is like every half hour, give a 5-minute PowerPoint on what it is. And then in between, people can, mill around with us, ask questions, we can give them the brochures. We can't advocate, this is only education material we're sending. The Sun City requirement is that it has to be only for Sun City. But of course, anybody from the city will get a pass. But it may be an opportunity for anybody who's running for office. This will not be a candidate forum, but the rec center, we're not gonna kick any candidate out. So,
Do you want me to add it to the calendar that I have already created for the mayor?
Yes, if you would.
I mean,
Yeah, I know on the eighth I'm gone. I'm out of town
That's
that,
what day?
that's Tuesday.
Tuesday.
What about Hilton Head Lakes?
Monday the seventh.
I still haven't
I'm
heard
here.
back from,
All right.
the
So
one who
what,
manages the calendar.
we're gonna try to get the information out to the public on what the transportation sales tax is about. Just strictly give the facts, and that's it. Okay? Motion to adjourn?
Well, make a motion to adjourn.
Second? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.